Great topics for you today. And yes, we are starting recording, so just please be aware. Um, and yeah, we are looking ahead with Tableau. And so please stay in touch. We're on X and we're on LinkedIn, and we're definitely focusing more on our LinkedIn presence moving into the near future here. And this is our lovely leadership team. And yeah, so welcome. We're doing that right now. In a few minutes here, I'm going to run through. We recently did a member survey, which hopefully you all responded to. We got some great responses there, but just in the spirit of transparency, wanted to run through all of that so you all know what we've been hearing from folks and also maybe how we're thinking about that, because we just want to make this group the best it can be and make sure we're serving all of you as best as we can. Then we're going to hear from Harriet talking a bit about her work with Toastmasters. Have a brief break there. And then we're going to hear from Ruy about the future of Tableau and what that might look like for all of us moving forward. And then John is going to do a quick Tableau tip on regular expressions. And if you have used regular expressions, you know that can be, and it's an exciting topic. And if you haven't, well, you should be excited because I'm excited. And then we're going to have a bit of an extended break there, and hopefully you can all join us, those of you who are local or relatively local, at Delta Beer Lab for a holiday party. All right, so just diving in here, again, we did the survey and just want to run through what all we heard from you. So first and foremost, we really wanted to know in-person, virtual, where people are at, and also how long to make these meetings. Oh, and also in the chat, thanks, Jen. The holiday party's at 5, not 4:30. So yeah, it should be a lot of fun. Delta is a great spot if you've never been. And yeah, of course, we all get to see all you lovely people. But so yeah, definitely what we're seeing is a lot of folks prefer the virtual format. Um, and in that format, that 1 hour, maybe 2 hour length is where people would like to see things moving. There are definitely people who value that in-person connection, which I tend to agree with. I like the virtual as well. But, and for that in-person, maybe having more 2 hours, possibly longer, possibly shorter. But so, we're definitely taking that to heart. And, we've done a lot of hybrid meetings in the past, but, today is our first fully virtual meeting in a while at least. And so we're definitely going to mix up our meeting types to having a mix of hybrid and fully virtual. And, probably also maybe some fully in person, but just kind of trying to mix it up a little bit so people can engage how they want to. In terms of times that people want to meet, perhaps not super surprising, um, midday, afternoon, certainly that late afternoon 3 to 5 spot that we've done a lot, but also 11 to 1 and 1 to 3. So we're taking that into account here too and trying to spread our times around so they work for different folks. And consistently every time we do a survey, people love Thursdays, and so we're reading you loud and clear, and we will stick with Thursdays, unless something comes up where we have to go on a Wednesday, which would be okay. And yeah, so folks definitely like the virtual. I know, over COVID, user groups changed a lot, and people started joining various different groups, and you can join a geographical group even if you don't live there. And anyone who doesn't live in Madison or Wisconsin, you are very welcome, and we're glad you're here. And so we are hearing you and respecting that. But in person, there is a nice part of being in person, especially for folks who are working fully remote. But yeah, definitely hybrid. And yeah, we're also hearing feedback, doing more in-depth topics, but also maybe shorter single topic sessions. That's probably where people are leaning. And there's, we'll still do networking and happy hours, but maybe less interest in that as opposed to the more deep dive stuff. And yeah, emails, glad pretty much everyone like the emails. I don't know, you get the emails through Bevy, and since that's working, we'll just keep doing it. That's good to hear. And yeah, here's social media. LinkedIn definitely seems to be leading the way these days for something like Tableau. And so that's where we're revamping our social media strategy to be on LinkedIn more. Certainly some Facebook and Instagram, and X is definitely less of a factor these days, which agrees with things we've been seeing. And in terms of physical locations, a lot of downtown, east side, far east side, campus, really all over. And we do try to, for our in-person or hybrid events, to pick venues all across Madison. So maybe if one location doesn't work for you, the next will. And honestly, also just finding a venue is its own challenge. So we can't be too choosy about location, but it was good to know where people are located. So this was an interesting one here. Looking at the types of topics that people wanted to see. And so definitely seeing Tableau tips and Tableau deep dives. Those are the big ones. So this dark blue is every time and the light blue is multiple times a year. So that's really what people want to see. And also like use cases that's more looking at like storytelling and performance and things of those natures. That's really what people are here for. Theoretical concepts as well and hands-on, but and then, updates and customer stuff and celebrity sessions people are interested in, but maybe not an every time type situation. Um, and, so this was good for us to kind of gauge where people are at and see what people are interested or not interested in. And so we'll definitely be taking that into consideration here. Also keeping in mind that everyone is different and has different desires and needs. And so we'll try to keep a nice variety going. This one was interesting. Yeah, a lot of you have been using Tableau for a while, 5+ years, clear majority here, and 3 to 4 and 1 to 2. And we have a few folks who are newer, but a lot more experienced folks. And so we're definitely looking at, how do we engage newer users and how do we get folks involved that way? But in the meantime, that tells us like, hey, maybe focusing more on intermediate and advanced topics could be a way to better serve you all. And yeah, so, this seems about right. And just checking on engagement. And people are coming, and obviously, we all, if you have a job, then it sometimes can be hard to commit to come to a meeting, but hopefully you find value and do end up coming as where you can. And yeah, I think date time doesn't work would be a reason not to come. Location not convenient, sure. Those are the main drivers of, I think, conflicts, which makes sense to me. And yeah, people get value, and I think certainly we would love to see that a lot section be the winner here, but I'll take some. But definitely a call to action for us to see about how we can increase value and really get folks more value for their time. And love to see the 5 stars, and looks like, people enjoy it. So I'll take that. And this one was interesting. So people definitely attend a lot of other virtual meetings. And so, yeah, just trying to figure out our place in that whole ecosystem and continuing to evolve and meet folks' needs and get good content to people. That's our goal. And so, yeah, just the last thing here. If any of you have any questions or comments or additional feedback, you can contact myself or any of the leadership team. We're always very open to that and would be zero judgment on any comments. We always love to learn what's going on. So open invitation there. All right. So just moving right along here, Harriet is going to talk a bit about her work with the Toastmasters and let us know what she's been doing there. All right, Harriet, you ready? And you are muted if you're talking there, Harriet.
Whoops. All right,
There we
let's
go.
try that again. Yay. If you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go farther, go together. I chose this proverb because it reminds me and of the value of human connection, which is the tone that I would like to set for my presentation this afternoon. Number one, here we are sitting in a Tableau users group community, also known as, I think, what do they call it? A data family, the Tableau data fam, and how important it is and how helpful it is for us to be able to get together, to share solutions, inspire creativity, and develop a community that is also working on in a software that also uses connections within data, right, to present insights as and to inform people and help them make better decisions and get on with their lives and do those things that they like to do. And the other piece of it is, I also was thinking about the value of human connection in terms of Toastmasters, which is one of my very favorite topics, as some of you very well probably already know. And how Toastmasters depends on human connections in order to help people become more effective communicators and leaders in our educational program. So I say, the more connections, the better. Data fam. The purpose of this presentation is to share a passion project that I have begun using Tableau to benefit an organization that helped me to find my voice and to articulate vision for my life. I'm just going to really quick run through a little bit about myself, a little bit about the project and where it's at the moment, some things I've learned along the way, and some challenges and where it's going next. I'm a Madison native, and for about half of my life, I worked with the University of Wisconsin-Madison, one of the very major industries here in town. And as I was working at the university, I was with student information. I developed a passion for both improving processes and also to make operational KPIs, key performance indicators, accessible to support business objectives. But as ambitious as I was doing all of those things, I found myself kind of frustrated in my own personal development, professional development. And so I found myself searching for some solutions outside of that environment. And that's how I found Toastmasters. Toastmasters helped me, like I said, to find my voice and articulate my vision, which is to drive innovation and meaningful change to improve the human condition. And I will do that by presenting and organizing data to help people make better decisions and to encourage leadership. To that end, one of the things that I did once I got to that point with my Toastmasters journey, I decided it was time to take early retirement. And so I left the university last year and have been working on various goals to work towards this, realizing my vision. On the technical side, I worked with Bill Rabello, who's in our audience here. Hi, Bill. He's a mentor for me out in Rhode Island, TUG. And I learned some things about Tableau from him and other sources. And I went ahead and got my certification as a desktop specialist earlier this year, back in May. And I also got my CDMP, which is Certified Data Management Professional. It's just basically sort of a broad-based data management certification. And then there's my Toastmasters side of things with my communication skills and leadership. And so for that piece of my steps towards my goal, I am currently working on something that's called the Distinguished Toastmasters Award. And one of the criteria for earning that is to do a project to benefit an organization. And that's what we're going to talk about now. Just really quick, what is Toastmasters, right? Well, Toastmasters is a worldwide organization that has, I mean, and it actually worldwide is no joke. It's not just a couple of countries, it's 150 countries. It's across the entire world, where in fact, half of the membership is outside of this hemisphere. So there's a lot of people. And we focus both on communication skills and leadership skills, and it's all about being in a small, intimate club environment where it's a safe place for you to work through your educational program and encourage one another. What my project is about is two pieces. There are the two of the deliverables that I'm looking at right now is first of all, I will explain what the realignment committee is. Well, realignment is basically what happens is every year people join the club, people leave the club, clubs start, clubs end, and it's sort of like redistricting for voting, right? You have to kind of keep looking at how your organizational structure is really reflecting your population. And so we do this every year. So the committee needs, I realize that the committee could probably use some help using with Tableau as some tools we could put together. So that's one deliverable. And the other is, once we've gotten through that whole process, is to publish a dashboard with the results right onto our district website, which will, I think, not only help with some transparency about what the decisions were all about, but also just help people in just a general way to see who the other clubs are in our district, and make some connections, right? Little context. This is how all of the regions are distributed across the whole entire world in Toastmasters. As you can see, well, we have 14 regions actually, and just this last year, they redistributed them equitably between North America and South America and the rest of the world. Toastmasters has been around for 100 years, and for almost the majority of those years, even though it was really growing, it started in California and more clubs got added. The regional structure, the governance structure, still remained within North America. And so even though people were starting clubs and joining up in other places like Africa and Australia and so on, there were no regions actually assigned to them. So they were not fully participating in the governance process. And it wasn't until 2009, actually, which is pretty crazy, but only 2009 when they actually started formalizing this process so that they had regions, so they could be directly represented in the board of directors. So this last year, they finally kind of got it totally squared away. And so this is kind of gives you a little background about how important this is, that this realignment, this alignment process gets done every year, and how it's not just our own backyard, but it's across the world. Now, where I live, where we are, this is District 35. We have around 1,200 members. Actually, right now it's a little under 1,000, but this is just a point in time. But it kind of gives you an idea of the size of our little area and where I'm going to, or I'm proposing that we work on my project. So now I'm going to try and show you a little bit about, I'm going to probably have to unshare and reshare, right?
Right.
Yeah, working? Yay.
Looks great. Yep.
Yes. Woohoo, I'm excited. Anyway, so every year, like I said, this is an exercise that gets done. People get picked to be on the realignment committee. It's not necessarily as a popular committee to be on because it is a tough challenge. Last spring, we were having our annual conference, and they were presenting the results for this coming up year, how in our little corner of the world, how things might get reorganized and redistributed. And at the same time, I was studying the Tableau and getting ready to do my cert, and I'm like, oh my God, this is perfect. I bet you I could help them next year. We could use Tableau, it'd be a great tool to help the committee, like I said, probably come up with some insights, connecting data together that they have not been able to do. You should see the way the dashboard looks. I'm like, sorry, Toastmasters International, but not very exciting. And then also, besides that, it would be great for me to just get some experience and add to my portfolio, right? So I pitched the idea to some various leadership in the district, and all I did was just create this little viz right here in the center of this Wisconsin, state of Wisconsin, Upper Michigan, where these cute little marks are and stuff here. There's no dashboard, there's no anything else, because honestly, there's no point in me killing myself over anything until the actual committee begins, which this process will not begin until January. So once January begins, I also got volunteered to be on the committee, which now I am on the committee. Then we'll be building things out, hopefully, and getting it to move forward and hopefully come up with some cool solutions. But just to demonstrate a little bit, using this viz was all I needed to do to convince people of how cool Tableau is and how it could help. And so I, these little dots, these little marks here, all the different clubs, they're divided up by divisions and by areas. And so the color codes is the divisions. And there's 5 here in Wisconsin, Upper Michigan, one little sad guy up there in Upper Michigan. And I was able to pull the data out to grab the website. And so I'm just going to show you guys how cool. This is my club, Eastside Madison. Woohoo! Yay, Eastside Madison. And this is us. We were having a nice little brainstorming session back in October. We had a little costume party and stuff. But every one of the clubs has the opportunity to use this Toast Host website to create their own little website and advertise their club. We also use it to sign up for our meetings and who's going to do what and all that kind of thing. Anyhow, so this dashboard, I actually just sort of threw it together yesterday because I thought I should have something to show you guys. And what I did over here with this little bar chart is, these are all the divisions, and they correspond obviously to the colors over here, and the number has to do with the total membership. And I have it set up to, filter across the top these KPIs. These KPIs are the kinds of things that the committee wants to look at to determine the health of the clubs, because that is part of the criteria that the realignment depends on. So there's this, but one of the challenges, and hopefully maybe somebody has an idea we can talk about at some point, is when I was pitching this idea to the different leadership, I was in a committee meeting with some folks who had done this process before. And the chair of the committee from last year, he said, well, can you do some what ifs? And I'm like, well, ifs, because you're talking about actually changing the underlying data on the fly. And I'm like, no, I don't think you can do that. You can only do mostly what is. And so it wasn't a deal breaker. I said, well, let me see if I can figure it out. And what the what if means is, if they decide they need to change this club and they want to put it into a different division, like say from D, move something from A to D or D to A or something like that, what would it look like and how would it be reflected up here in these KPIs? And so the best thing that I could think of was to create a group, right? I did a what if, I called it what if division. And so I created a group over here and I assigned every one of the little groups within that the same identical letters as the current divisions, and I put all the groups together the same way they are over here. And then because how I didn't like that, just to test how this would just look just off the top, I didn't like how this spelled Danes and not dance, and I like dance better than Danes. So I switched this over. A couple of clubs, I moved them around. So it would spell out dance instead. And so this filters now the what if on the D, we moved somebody from A into D, and so this shows all of the clubs that are in the new proposed D also retain the attribute from A, so that you can see where it came from. Anyhow, and obviously there's lots of different things that we could potentially do, but kind of the next steps for me now is just really to wait and let's see if I can pull that other screen up quick. Is basically just kind of wait till the committee starts to meet. The piece of the DTM, the Distinguished Toastmasters part of it, is that I also have a team that I'm leading to go through this process as well. And they're going to do a 360 evaluation eventually of this whole thing. And I'm not sure what everybody's roles are going to be because, honestly, a lot of this is just going to be me because I'm really the only one that understands the tool unless somebody else wants to learn it. But anyway, I'm not. This is it. This I feel like it's going to be really cool and satisfying, and I feel like it really aligns with the vision that I have for my life that Toastmasters helped me to articulate. And I'm excited, and I hope that I can share the results or the next steps of the process with you guys in the future. That's it.
Well, thanks, Harriet. Yeah, that was really interesting. And I love seeing, a good viz that's very useful, right? So just with some combining a couple things, all of a sudden you're shedding light on some really important insights that weren't there, and that's why we're all here, right? So really appreciate you sharing that. And I will also call out Olivia. Thank you for the reminder. We do have 2 gift cards or swag if you're local for up for grabs for people who actually participate either in the Q&A or chat, and we'll open it up for questions and all that. So yeah, good incentive there, even if you don't want to, just because you want to. Yeah, any other questions or comments for Harriet?
Harriet, I have one for you. I am really curious to know, of the things that you've kind of gone through transformationally with this project, was there something in particular that was like really impactful for you as kind of like working and building this dashboard and getting it built out?
Well, I'll tell you what's the most impactful for me is I was just even before we were doing the dashboard, because like I said, there's going to be a lot more work. This is just sort of a idea. When I started out doing this presentation talking about human connection, and even if and one of the problems we have with Toastmasters, one problem is that it is a large organization, right? And outside of just getting to know the people in your club, it is kind of a challenge to get to know even the people in the club that meet in Sun Prairie or Middleton or whatever, right? And so much less, the whole rest of the world. And just a side note, I've been really kind of, there's been pros and there's not a lot of pros to the whole thing that happened with COVID, but we had to learn really fast and hard how to use Zoom and how to use virtual meetings to keep Toastmasters going. Otherwise, we would have totally tanked. And one of the things that came out of that was the fact that we have got some clubs that are totally virtual, and that means that I could join a club in Singapore, from 1 up until 2 in the morning or something. And we have people that join us. We had a guy from Canada just popped into one of our meetings a couple of months ago, joined us, gave us feedback afterwards. It was really awesome. And so even if we do nothing but put a dashboard up, just like with that little, that viz I did with the state of Wisconsin, where they can click around and look at the different clubs and see their faces. What? Like, wow, Yeah. So that was one of the biggest things that I'm just kind of really excited about. Mm-hmm.
I love that. Your passion is infectious for sure. All
Well,
right. Any
good.
Any other questions for Harriet? Okay, I am seeing none, Harriet, but thank you so much for presenting for us. We are so appreciative and look forward to seeing you later at the holiday party. Okay.
Be there.
All right. I think we're due for a break, Jeff. Is that right?
Yep. So yeah, we'll just take a few minutes here, just like 5 minutes. So it's 12:33. Just kind of reconvene at 12:38. All right. See you in a sec. All right. Hope everyone had a chance to grab some water or whatever you needed to do. Yeah, if we're ready to keep going, let's see. Ruy, are you there?
I am
Awesome.
here.
Great. Well, next we're going to hear from Ruy. And yeah, he's looking forward to hearing what you're going to talk to us about looking ahead. And then we'll follow up with a discussion and Q&A. Yeah, go ahead, Ruy.
Sounds good. Okay, let me share my screen here. Okay, so where's the I in AI? So I've been kind of working on this concept of what the future looks like in terms of us as people, right, and our jobs and everything. And I came up with this idea of calling this presentation "Where is the I in AI?" I think we're gonna go through this journey together of understanding where, hopefully, understanding at the end of this presentation, where do we fit in all of these, and hopefully taking some action to kind of get ready for what's coming, right? So it's interesting because we heard a lot about human connection, and I do feel that AI is coming here and disrupting a little bit in, that dynamic in terms of how we work and how we do things. So hopefully you like my presentation. To get us started, I unfortunately need to do these. So now that I work at Salesforce, I need to put this forward-looking statement in front of you. And I'm not going to read this thing, but I'm going to tell you one thing. Actually, I'm going to tell you two things. One, a lot of my presentation, I'm not going to really go deeper into the products. I'm going to show you some things where I'm going to share some links with you where you can find more information about the products and the feature of what Tableau is offering. But I might say things through my presentation that might be statements that are not yet in the market, tools that we are not quite there yet in terms of having them available. So just remember that when you're taking that into consideration, don't purchase the tool for what we're telling you that might be the features of the future. Purchase the tool for what you're getting from these tools today, because that always can change. And if there's anything that I've learned at Salesforce likes to change things quite a bit, and technology is just evolving so fast that we have to pivot very quickly. The second thing that I wanted to tell you is that now that I work at Salesforce as well, and based on these presentation, a lot of what I put into this presentation is my opinion, is not the company opinion. So it's just how I feel about it from my experience and what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing. Having said that, this is me. So I am Ruy, and I'm a customer success manager at Salesforce for Tableau. I have over 10 years of experience in sales operations, sales enablement, and the latest in data enablement and consulting. Before I joined Salesforce, I was a Tableau consultant. I actually haven't touched Tableau since then, so it's been about almost now maybe 8 months that I haven't really. Well, I have done a little bit of work, but nothing to the extent of actually building a dashboard. But I've learned so much so quickly, and gotten through some certifications as well. So I'm based in Atlanta, Georgia. A couple fun facts about me. I was a tennis player at 14. I was ranked top 10 in my country. It's a very small country. I'm from Ecuador, South America. But then I stopped playing tennis. I have 4 boys at home. My 17-year-old twins. I have a 10-year-old and a 3-year-old. So we're always busy. We are a big soccer, football family. My kids, I have to travel a lot with my kids because of that. My twins play very competitive soccer in a lot of different places. So we're driving around to other states. I am a 2024 Tableau Visionary. Unfortunately, I cannot keep that going because now I work for Salesforce, so I cannot become a visionary again. But I'm glad that I got to be recognized for what I have contributed to the community as a visionary. I also started 3 different Tableau user groups and was recognized as a Tableau ambassador for 3 years. And I was talking to you a little bit about what I've been doing at Salesforce, and I've been getting quite a bit of certifications. I already had a couple of Tableau certifications and my CRM analyst certification from my consulting work, but I've gotten more into, as you can see in some of those certifications there, AI. I come from a sales operations background, so I did get the CRM certification, the admin certification as well, and a data cloud certification. Trying to learn as much as I can to be ready for that future that we're going to talk about. So let's go to this next slide. So today I will tell you a little bit more about what I feel, like how I feel about AI, and then I'll tell you a little bit about what I kind of think the future could look like, and we'll have some fun with it. So I call that, will you be Netflix or Blockbuster? Then I'll give you some recommendations with the latest book I read, Becoming a Data Head, which I thought was pretty good to really get some get more things and more understanding on how to be ready for what's to come with AI. And then other things that I like to talk about quite a bit on how I got into Tableau and data and data enablement and consulting is about this concept of the purple leader that I have shared in the past as well, and how they're giving you some tips on what that kind of looks like. So where you can bridge the gap between business and technology. And then hopefully we can have some conversation if you have some questions there. So to start, if you, I would love to hear your thoughts about some things. So I'm going to share these right here. And if you go to that link, I would love to get your insights to see where you are in your AI journey, and also if you have heard about some of the Tableau tools that are using AI already. So I'll give you about 2 minutes to go in there and answer. And I'm starting to see the answers here. So, okay, so daily, sometimes never. Let me see if I can share these very quick with all of you. I think you can see it anywhere anyway, but as you answer, but it looks like the majority of you are using it sometimes. I did put that I do not want to use technology. I do not want to use, I should have said, this technology that will replace me. The reason that I'm actually putting that in there, because you would be surprised, we actually have people like that at Salesforce that are not really using the technology because they feel that way. And it's interesting because I feel that a lot of people are scared about how quickly we've gotten into AI and agents, and it definitely can feel a little bit like a little bit disruptive, and a little bit like we're forgetting that we are all people, and that we do need to kind of slow down sometimes and think about these things. But anyway, so that's why I put that in there. Now, it looks like you have the majority of you have heard of all of them. Okay, so we'll talk a little bit about some of those tools here. But before I do that, I'm actually going to, so let me actually jump to this next slide. Have you, and I don't have, actually, hold on, let me change the screen here. Okay, cool. have you seen the keynote of, and you can just respond on the chat, have you seen the keynote, the Tableau keynote at Dreamforce, or the future? I think there was something before called the Future of Tableau. And if you haven't, that's perfectly okay. I won't put you through the, I won't make you watch the video right now, but I'm going to share a link. This is a huge link, so I apologize for that. I'm going to share that link. I think it's supposed to start right at the minute that the demonstration is happening for Tableau Einstein. And the reason that I call that out is because Tableau Einstein is what we're kind of sharing as the future of Tableau. And when you start seeing what's in there, you'll see kind of like an amalgamation of tools that Salesforce has that is bringing together to really provide a holistic solution for analytics. Now, I could have done the demo, but I didn't have that much time to actually do a demo in this setting. And I also think that Matthew Miller, the person that's doing the demo, is just incredible and much better at doing demos than me. So I highly suggest that if you haven't seen these, you go in there. If it's not, I think the link should start at that minute, but it's about like the end of the 32nd, start of the 32nd minute, where he starts doing his demo. And he talks about all of the things that are coming with this new Tableau tool called Tableau Einstein. And the reason that that's so important for this conversation is because you're going to start seeing some things that are leveraging more of the understanding of the data and the ingestion of the data and really the business context around the data. And he's taking you through the entire journey of how that turns into an insight. And the part that to me is even more important than that is not really the insight, but the action, right? Because the reality is that the most important piece of that insight is what action are you going to take based on that? When you think about and when you boil it down, right, it's really like the people that we're working with when we're working with clients and we're working with our stakeholders, they need to make decisions with our data. And those decisions can be good or bad, right? But they need to make decisions with our data. As I mentioned, I have a 3-year-old, and if we want to boil it down to like making it very simple, he's now helping us in the kitchen quite a bit more. And I've seen him very, very close to things that where he can like really get burned. And I'm always like constantly telling him like, hey, don't touch that, don't touch that, don't touch that, right? So he's already like kind of understanding that there's things that he needs to do or not do based on the information that I'm providing him, right? But then it would be nice if I could just be sure that that action is going to happen and the right action is going to happen, especially when I know that the consequences are bad, right? So that's what I think of when I think of certain elements of what agents and AI can do for us when it comes to systems, when it comes to the business, when it comes to actions that you need to do to correct something, right, that could turn into an error. Because from my sales operations experience, I know that we are constantly training people, but there's turnover. There's people that might have been working on some other project at the same time and have too much going on, and they're not entering things correctly. So that's where I think AI and agents are kind of really doing that extra step of actually connecting through API and other technologies to really either take the action or put that action in front of you to say, hey, here's what I recommend as the next step. So if you haven't seen these, I definitely encourage you to. see it. So now I wanted to play with this concept as well, because we have been having a lot of conversations about this from a human factor, and I love to coach people, especially younger people and younger generations, that I've met through like the Data Fam. I started a user group called Career Path Makers, and I love to have these conversations. And here's a reality that to me, we were having this conversation. I kind of came up with this concept of, you know, saying, okay, well, do you want to be a Blockbuster or do you want to be a Netflix, right? And I don't know how many of you know about what happened with Blockbuster, but you can also use the chat for these if you want to kind of share if you know what even Blockbuster is. I might be there might be some younger people that have never really gone to a Blockbuster store. But in the 2000s, I was in college, and I was with my wife at the time. We were not married yet, and we would go to a store and rent these videos and return them and have to go through all of these things before actually being able to just enjoy the film. We had to go get it. Then we had to like make sure we return it. There were late fees and all of these different things. But that was convenience at the time, right? Like that was the 2000s. That was convenient and fun, and it was what we would do. Like a lot of the weekends, that's what we would be doing when we didn't want to go and go out and party or anything like that. Like when we wanted to chill, we'd go and grab a movie. Funny enough, a Pizza Hut was right next to Blockbuster, so we were saving money, so we would always get a pizza too, and that's what we would do. Now the funny thing is that Netflix was already I miss Blockbuster. Yeah, me too. It was kind of it was a good excuse to go out. Now it's like everything is so easy. You just get movies like whenever you want, and it's just so easy, right? But the reality is that Blockbuster was huge. They had, I think, over 9,000 locations, right? And funny enough, Netflix approached them and said, "Hey, would you like to buy us? Like, pay 50 million. You can take over Netflix, right?" And they could have really like gone there and made this incredible change. So I did put the QR code for this one, but to save some time, I'm just gonna skip it. But it talks about, it asks about if you're familiar with Blockbuster and all that. So, but this is the difference, right? Like, as you can imagine, things were very different in the 2000s. Like the majority of the people were still like going like from moving away from a 56 kilobyte per second connection, right? Like there's still a lot of people on dial-up. Like especially in my country, there were a lot of people using dial-up. So downloading one movie would have taken about 33 hours from what I could do my research on. It's like it's almost impossible to watch a movie online. Now today we can download that same movie in like seconds, right? So we have connections that are 50 megabytes per second, and that's kind of what the average household has. And then we have gigabyte connections now, right? So it's a lot different today. But the reality and the difference is that Netflix knew that was going to happen. Netflix could see one step ahead. And I do feel, and I feel this even before I joined this company, that this company can see one step ahead, and that the things that they were doing, especially around COVID time, and I attended Dreamforce around that time, they were already thinking about what the future could look like. And this innovation and this technology is like moving so fast that you gotta be ready and you gotta be prepared, and start to learn those concepts and embrace those concepts, right? So that's kind of what I want you to make sure you do after like seeing this. If you have never, or if you use AI sometimes, like, think about other ways that you can leverage it. Think about other ways that you can learn more. I mentioned Datahead. Funny enough, because I travel so much and I drive quite a bit with my kids, I actually bought that book. I have it right here. I've never opened it. I bought it a year ago, but I usually around this time of the year I have to do a lot of traveling for showcases for my kids, and I had an 8-hour drive to Virginia a couple weeks ago, and I was having a conversation with some of my peers at work, and someone mentioned that you can actually go to the library, get a library card, and then you get access to these apps that give you audiobooks. And I had canceled my Audible subscription because for a while, like during the summer, I wasn't, using it that much and all that. Like, oh my God, this is cool. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. So I went and did that, and I got my app, and I looked for this book, and it was there, and I could just listen to it. So while I was driving 16 hours, I went through this book and another one, and I was extremely surprised about this book in particular, because it talks up a little bit about this concept of the purple leader, and it also talks about like some of the things that I've always thought were the most important things about data and analytics, and like, looking at this information, right, and asking questions. So I think this concept of staying curious is probably the most important concept. Through Career Path Makers, a lot of people approach me because if you go to my LinkedIn, you're gonna see that I've pivoted my career a lot of times, and people are like, a lot of them thinking about, okay, well, I'm in transition, I might have lost my job, but I'm looking for the exact same job, and should I be looking at something else? And I always say, yeah, why not? Like, stay curious, like, go for what you are passionate about, look for opportunities and things that you can do or certifications that you can get, and try to like learn more about that and continue to, just absorb all that knowledge. So to me, it's very important to make sure that when you are in these settings talking to stakeholders and doing your job, to really stay curious, ask questions. You have heard about the whys, and probably a lot of the times in different companies, like, ask why and why and why and why, until you get to the when you get to a point where you cannot ask why anymore. That is very insightful when you start kind of going down that path. So that to me is very important, because AI, we're moving very fast, right? And when we're moving very fast, the problem is that we make mistakes. And a lot of those mistakes, coming from a sales operations background, are going to be on the inputs a lot of the time. So if you don't ask why and you don't question certain things, you're never going to get to like going back and resolving those operational problems that you might have in your organization and that are causing those bad decisions, right? So stay curious. The concept of the purple leader, I'll go into the next, into a little bit more into the next slide on some things that you can do to really be that purple leader. But the other thing is data, is more than numbers, right? So when we're looking at data, and especially if you become very technical, and I did for a long time, was very into the numbers and very into like analyzing the data, and there's always something missing, right? Like that human factor is always missing sometimes in the work we do. And if you don't have a holistic view of the data, there are a lot of things that as you start to ask those why questions, you're going to need to engage with people. And when you engage with people and you ask the right questions about your findings and what you see on the data, you're going to come up with a good story, right? And you're going to uncover the insights that are really driving the results, right? And then you're going to be able to suggest or maybe even make or take some action, right? and meaningful action with purpose, knowing that you just didn't, just look at the number and went with it. Like you have a lot more context to the story. So I mentioned asking why. This is a lot of the concepts that I was seeing in becoming a data head. Some of them were already covered in this other book. This is the book that actually got me into Tableau and started my data journey. I was in sales operations at the time when I read it. Actually, someone from Tableau recommended it to me because I was I was asking a lot of questions around technology, and I was working very close with the business, and I wanted to figure out a way to like build my brand around it, and kind of pivot my career to be this person that can really translate both worlds, right? Like translate, and that's the concept of the purple leader, translate business needs into data and technology needs, and then be able to explain complex data and technology in easier to understand business terms. So to do that, right, the biggest piece of advice that I can tell you is learn the business, right? Like connect with people, build those connections. This is where the human element is extremely important, right? We are in we have an advantage today that we can connect with anyone in bigger companies. I tell a lot of the people, I've been in the community forever. I've only been to one conference, and that was the last conference. And for the last 5 years, I worked remote, almost all of them. And now I'm going to an office, now working at Salesforce, but for the majority of them, I was working remote. And I would connect with people in this setting, and then I will connect with them in LinkedIn, and then I would set up meetings, and then I will start connecting and understanding and learning and asking questions. The same thing you can do in any setting with your company, with different people. Go reach out and ask questions, right? And learn more of the business and the people that are in the front lines. Learn to translate complexity and try to make sure that you connect your findings and your insights in a way that it resonates with your stakeholders and the people that are closer to the business that might not know those terms, right? The technology, terminology, etc., and try to make sure that you connect it to the actual strategic business goal, right? That to me would be another way that you can be more of that purple leader in your company, and thinking about how you can future-proof yourself a little bit. And then actionable insights, like make sure that you don't stop at, hey, here's the insight, but what type of action would this drive? Always think about, is this really supporting the business, what I'm doing? And is it going to be something that my business leaders are looking for? And is it tied to our business goals, OKRs, whatever you call it? I've worked in several different companies where they use different frameworks for these, but is it tied to our strategic goals? And how is it tied to our strategic goals? And is there an action that we need to make to based on what we have uncovered? And that is the end of my presentation. This was pretty funny because I actually, when I was kind of thinking about these concepts, I was talking to ChatGPT about how I wanted to frame the presentation, and I hope you liked it. But ChatGPT told me to like have some sort of a visual for the Netflix blockbuster kind of concept, and ChatGPT came up with these. Don't ask me why this is right there. I have no idea why, but it's what ChatGPT came up with, and then you can see the blockbuster kind of they're all dusty and left out. I don't think there's any blockbusters left at this point. But are you ready? Like, are you prepared for these? Are you taking some of those steps? That's it. That's all I've got. Thank you very much. I hope you liked it. And if you have any questions, you know.
Thanks, Ruy. Yeah, that was super interesting. Yeah, I mean, AI is a super fascinating topic, and like you say, be Netflix, not Blockbuster, right? Looking ahead. I also like the bit about, not even just data, but connecting the business and data. I think, that I agree. That's going to be a big differentiator of, like, what do you do as a person if AI is doing some of this low-level data stuff that we used to do? How do you use the tool in a smart way?
Yeah, we love our tools, and I can tell you I love software a lot. And I'm an introvert. For years in my career, I was there, like, behind the screen all the time. And I went through, like, personality tests about this. I actually went through it with the bigger group, and we had, like, I think about 40 people in our analytics team. Most of us were in the same, like, we bucketed ourselves in, like, different areas of the room when we finalized the personality test. And it was like, we are all analytical and we are all into our work, and we just don't want to make those connections and all that. And to me, it was very eye-opening, because the reality is that you need to do that. And I cannot stress that enough. Like, you need to connect with people, and this is how I found it. Like, really, the Tableau user groups were my thing. Like, I would connect with people here, and I encourage people to do that more and more, because it's really what's going to help you, like, get better at your job and understand what's needed, right? Like, where things are going and how people perceive different things.
We did have a question from one of our audience members. Andrew asked, do Tableau AI capabilities include anything to assist with analyzing and coding qualitative data, like open-ended responses from a survey?
For a server, so I'm thinking, Andrew, can you confirm, are you talking, when you're saying from a server standpoint, are you saying like API coding?
From a survey, like a
survey
response.
Oh, got it. Okay, sorry. I it's a little bit hard to hear you. Okay, survey. So yeah, Tableau, the Tableau agent that's on Tableau Einstein should be able to help with any type of structured, unstructured data in a much more streamlined way. So the reason that I think, like, the reason that I feel very strongly that we need to be ready for it is because the way that I think about it, a lot of our stakeholders, especially the higher they go, they just want the answer, right? They want the answer, and they want it fast because they need to make a decision, right? So if something's going wrong or if something's going right, they have a question, and that question could be answered by AI much faster than it can be answered by a dashboard, right? That's the reality of it. So if you have Tableau agent and you can get that answer very quickly, right, and expose it right away and make a decision, that's going to be the benefit of it. But a lot of the preparation and a lot of the modeling and a lot of the relationships between different, and you can see it actually on the keynote, where Matt is like doing these relationships. And if you look at how the Tableau model is evolving towards now being able to do relationships between published data sources and doing relationships back and forth, that's all aimed to be able to provide this framework of, you ask the question and you kind of get the answer, right? It's just looking at everything that is out there and giving you that answer and maybe building a quick visual for it.
Awesome, thank you. I don't see any other questions. Oh, did I hear somebody?
No, I just said thanks a lot.
Oh.
Thank you for having me. And
yeah,
if there are any other questions, please, I love to talk about these. So connect with me. I'm on LinkedIn. Very easy to find me too. My name is probably the first one that will pop up. My name is very uncommon for some reason. So.
We're really grateful you joined us today. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, John, do you want to give us a quick small to medium regular expressions tip?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. I'm going to share my
Great.
screen. So
Perfect.
let's go with this guy. Can people see my screen?
Yes.
Fantastic. So let's get into it. Regular expressions. So this is going to be a drive-by quick tip regarding Tableau. This is going to be mechanical. It's going to be applied. And the goal in terms of the quick tip is really to help talk about what regular expressions are, how they're used within Tableau, and really make a use case for why you might want to think about using them. So it's really those three things that I'm going to be pressing upon in this quick tip. So I kind of want to start this off with an intuitive take, right? We're all data superheroes. Whenever I hear a presentation where somebody's trying to give me a quick tip, I always wonder in the back of my mind, why should I care? How is this relevant to me? And I want to address that point first. So a regular expression, from a superhero perspective, it's part of your overall utility belt, right? It's kind of like the carbon dioxide fired grappling hook that blasts out of your belt buckle, right? Are you going to need to go vertical every day? No. But when you've got a situation where you have to work with strings, messy string data, either assembling strings, creating new strings, or taking data out of strings beyond, kind of a simple contains or an in, right? Where you've got a pattern that you've got to work with. There is nothing quite like a regular expression. Now, they have historically been a pain in the butt to use. And I'll go into how they're used within Tableau and some syntax examples. But what I'd say, if you're thinking about regular expressions and learning about them, they're also ubiquitous. So they're present in almost every single scripting language you'll run into. They're present in most databases. You can use them in SQL. In most data pipelining tools, you have the ability to use regular expressions. So it's a really transferable skill. While I'm talking about regular expressions within the context of Tableau, if you learn them in Tableau, you can harness them in other places. I mean, chances are we're all polytool users, right? I mean, we use Tableau, but we probably use it in conjunction with other things too. And so regular expressions are one of those rare areas where if you develop capital in that area, you can use it in many places. And so it's only one piece of your overall utility belt. But trust me, when you have to go vertical and it comes to strings, they're where it's at. So what I'll do is I'll segue to regular expressions in Tableau, and then I'm going to show you an example of what prompted me to talk to you about regular expressions in the first place. So let's go to regular expressions in Tableau. We have 4 functions in Tableau that have regex functionality. One is regex extract. The second is regex extract int. The third is regex match. The fourth is regex replace. They all do different things. Okay. So the extract regex function, what it does is you have a main string and you search that string using a pattern, and it's going to return to you the substring that's matching that pattern. The next regex function that you have in Tableau is this regex extract inth. I have never used this, I'll be honest, in terms of an actual use case. It's pretty interesting. So the way this thing works is that if you start with a string and you got a pattern, what it does, it's going to return the string position that matches the nth incidence of that pattern. So once you've established a pattern, if you want to get the second time that pattern comes up, it'll return to you the position in your string where that occurs. Now, what I have seen people use regex, this kind of extract and positioning, is when you want to do string assembly, right? You want to take strings together, you want to identify where something occurs, and you may want to sub something in. So the second function, my suspicion, is when people want to build complicated strings. But the creativity that people express when dealing with regex is kind of astounding, and it's fun to see. The third is regex match. This is a Boolean field that's going to return true or false if you see a pattern within a string. And you might say to yourself, hey, why can't I just use a contain? Well, you may have a pattern that's not just like the 3 characters ABC, right? You might have something where you have AB followed by a varying number of characters and then a 1. And you want to find how does that exist within a string. So it gives you a bit more power and flexibility than what you could find with just a simple contains. The last one, which we're going to work with a bit here today, is regex replace. Actually, we're going to work with regex replace and regex extract. But regex replace, you take a portion of the string that matches a pattern, and then you're going to return a new value. So I have two simple examples on the screen. I'm going to talk about the taxonomy of regex, and then we're going to get rid of this, background information, and we'll talk about real data examples in just a second. So two examples just to give you some ideas in terms of what these things look like if you find them in Tableau. I have an example of regex extract and regex replace. So the first regex extract, it takes a calculated field and it searches that calculated field using a pattern. The pattern is everything that you see right here. It basically begins with the string, quote, string, end quote, colon, right? And then basically what it does is it returns all of the word characters that follow the incidence of quote, string, quote, colon. And that will return to you in a field that then you can use in something else. The second guy down here, regex replace, what it does is it takes a calculated field called sample, and then it cleans it up. It basically removes all characters except for alphanumerics and spaces from the calculated field and returns the edited string. And if you're like, oh my word, where are you using this information? I have a good use case for this one down here. So I was working on some fraud analysis a couple of years ago, and we had to do fuzzy matching between strings. And we saw that things like exclamation points or apostrophes or periods made it artificially hard, right, to see what string matches another string. And so a natural thing to do was to use regex to remove all these special characters and really just focus on the letters and the numbers as our unit of comparison, right? And if we look at the components of regex, like if you think about regex from a taxonomical perspective, like what are the individual inputs of regex? There are 4. And this kind of moves, in my view, from the lowest atomic structure of regex components to the highest. So at the very base of regex components, you have literals, okay? Now it's a little bit hard to see in this last example, but you see the quote, space, star, quote. The quotes are in red. A space is a literal. I'm searching for a space specifically. So I'm looking for one character specifically. That's different than what's in orange, which is called a character class. This is a grouping of letters or numbers, whatever you want to make in terms of the pattern that you're constructing. So I'm saying, okay, this little caret basically says exclude all letters A to Z under like lowercase, all letters A to Z uppercase, and then all characters between 0 and 9, right? And this right here is a group of characters. So I'm not going after something specific like a space, but I'm creating an artificial group, and that's what I'm using in my pattern. Now, I did bracket or group together those two things as the pattern that I wanted to use to cruise over my sample field, right? So it was basically this character class, this bundle of characters that I wanted to exclude, plus this little caboose, which is a space. And if you notice, I snuck in a star, right? That's an operator. An operator basically says that if there are multiple instances of a space, we want to include those extra spaces too, not just the first one. So if you think about where would that occur, my name, John R. Westbury. I typically throw a space between John and R, and then R and Westbury. I want that regex return set to basically give me that clean string of John R. Westbury. I don't want it to artificially stop after that first space. That's why I threw in this operator to basically keep on chugging to return to me what I need in terms of a return set. So that's a very high level in terms of taxonomy. And I would say this before kind of going further any more. Regex have historically, it's really hard to get the syntax for regex to work. But if you use chatbots in your work, you can use a chatbot to quickly and accurately create a capture group that basically describes that pattern in terms of what you're looking for in the regex. And they're pretty good. I actually tested that. These are my own capture groups that I made here, and you'll see in these extra examples. But if you use chatbots, it's very, very simple and quick to create those capture groups and then go ahead and use that. And that makes regexes a breeze once you don't have to worry about the syntax. So enough said about the structural portions of regex. Let's see what prompted me to talk to you about these things and how these can actually work for you and what they could do for you. So I'm going to show you the dashboard, or a version of the dashboard that made me have this presentation. I can't show you the source dashboard because some of the data is very sensitive, but I can show you what I saw when I saw the dashboard. Everything that's shaded gray was beautiful. It was fine. But there was this header right in the middle of the dashboard that had this string. And I had never seen this before. And I looked at that header and I'm like, what is this? I have no idea what this is. And I had a physical reaction to it. I typically do when I see strange things that don't make sense to me in visualizations. I want to know like what that thing is. And the author explained to me in the source data, they have a string that describes the composition of a household. What this string means is that there are 2 adults, 7 infants, 2 school-age children, 1 teenager, and 1 preschooler in the household. But in my mind, and maybe I perseverated on this, I was like, how would somebody who never saw this dashboard before know that that's what that string was? And I thought to myself, surely there's got to be a better way to do this. And I didn't say anything to the author because, as you can see, everything else, 99% of the dashboard was beautiful. But that 1% that jumped out to me was all I could focus on. And here I am 4 months later, and it's still all I can focus on. So what was the real problem, and what did a solution look like? The household composition strings are mapped out over here. So A1 means 1 adult, A2 means 2 adults, 3 infants, A2, I4, 2 adults, 4 infants. And what I saw when I looked at this data is that the beginning portion of the string always started with an A, followed by the number of adults. But after the A, the I, the S, the T, and the P did not follow a strict order. So for some of the values, you could see P would come after A. For some of the values, S would come after A. And so at first I was like, okay, fine. I got to make a case statement or some kind of an if statement to make a clean label because this is what I wanted, right? But if you think about all the combinations in terms of an if statement or a case statement that you need to make to basically create a clean label, like something over here, you're literally talking about thousands, right, of string permutation combinations. And at that point, I was like, oh no, this is just going to look like this forever. And I was really bothered by this, like truly physically bothered. So I thought about it and I was like, wait a minute, this is a job for regex. And so what I'll do is I'll go into the function that I used to create this right here. But basically what I needed this function to do before we look at the nitty gritty is I needed it to tell me how many adults there were, how many infants, how many preschoolers, how many school-age teachers, how many teenagers, regardless of what the order of the characters were. And just because I'm anal retentive, I wanted it to tell me if there's only 1 adult, it shouldn't be 1 adults, right? It should be singular. It shouldn't be plural. So that was my need case. That was what I was looking for. So let me just go through this, and we will take a look at the nitty gritty, and we will kind of look at the function and then go from there.
Hey, John, sorry, but we got it. If you could do like a 1-minute wrap up.
Yeah, okay, you know what? I'll skip the function and I'll talk about some use cases that you might care about when it comes to regex. There are other places where you might care about regex. If you're dealing with XML, right, and you've got tag sets and you need to extract the information between your tag sets, and let's say the XML isn't well formed, right? So the tag sets drift. They don't always follow the same pattern. That's one place where you could use regex. Another place where you can use regex is if you run into JSON, right? JSON has key value pairs where you've got a key followed by a value. And if you want to create a field from this ugly JSON where you have a clean name and a clean zip code, regex is a great way, right, to find that key and then find the subsequent value. So in summary, and we got about 2 minutes left, regex is a great way to work with dirty strings, right, and mine the data that you need from those strings. And if you find the syntax to be challenging, definitely check out chatbots. They can make this super easy. So if you do find yourself working with messy strings, consider regex. They're a great alternative to using another tool. Typically, you can do the work in place within Tableau. So with that, I will stop sharing.
Thanks, John. And yeah, I don't know. I've only dabbled in regex, but I would agree it's a good battering. You know, it's when you need it, it's super helpful.
Yeah.
I'd never thought of putting it into a chat bot to get the syntax. That's genius, because like that used to take forever at least, and so that's a hot tip. But yeah, we are 1 minute out, so we're just going to speed run the closing here. I'm so glad we've had such amazing presentations, and yeah, it's nice to have too much content. All right, so with that being said, I'm just going to share my screen really, really fast, and don't do that. So lots of tugs. We work closely with the Milwaukee and Madison tugs, so definitely check those out. We generally alternate months, so there's something every month. Iron Viz qualifiers coming up. TC15, sunny San Diego, I believe. You should get to it if you can. And yeah, follow us on our calendar and don't unsubscribe from Bevy because that's how we find you. And Olivia, drumroll please. Who are our swag winners for today?
Okay. We have Brittany and Andrew as our swag winners. Congratulations to both of you. We have two $25 gift certificates to the Tableau store to give away. If you guys are going to be at the holiday party later and would rather get a physical piece of swag, you're welcome to do so. But if you'd like the gift card, please, Brittany and Andrew, just let me know. Send your email to me so that we can get those sent over to you. But congratulations to all, and thank you all so much for participating today.
Totally. And yeah, just quick plug, come hang out at Delta. It'll be fun. And yeah, love to see you there.
Yep, we have white elephant presents and lots of treats. So hopefully everybody can make it. Make sure to RSVP ahead of time, though.
Totally. Well, thanks all for coming. And yeah, hopefully see you soon.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.